My Line, and it aired on CBS during the late 1950s and early 1960s. Now, the gimmick for the show was for a celebrity panel to try to guess the profession of a mystery guest. The panel for the January 1964 episode included actress Arlene Francis, comedian Steve Allen, columnist Dorothy Kilgallen, known as the voice of Broadway, and Bennett Cerf, the co-founder of Random House Publishing. The host, journalist John Charles Daly, was previously best known as the first national correspondent to report on the Pearl Harbor attack and the death of Franklin D. Roosevelt. The first mystery guest signed in as Jerry Whittington from West River, Maryland.
Is it Miss or Mrs. Whittington?
It's Miss.
Miss Whittington. Where are you from?
West River, Maryland.
West River, Maryland.
Yes.
Well, it's nice to have you with us. Miss Whittington, may I present our panel? Now, would you join me over here, please? And we'll let the audience in the theater and the audience at home know exactly what your line is.
So it turns out President Lyndon Johnson had arranged for Ms. Whittington to appear on the show rather than announce her hiring via press conference. He knew that the hire would be controversial. Geraldine Jerry Whittington was the first black woman to work in a non-domestic job in the White House. She got hired as LBJ's personal secretary when, after the assassination of President Kennedy, the new president wanted a fresh pool of secretaries in the White House. He reportedly saw Ms. Whittington working in another government office and asked his aide, Jack Valenti, to track down her number. Here's part of the phone call recorded by Johnson of him calling Ms. Whittington to offer her the job.
This is Whittington.
Just a minute. Where are you?
Hello?
Where are you?
I'm at home. Who's this?
This is the president.
Oh.
What are you doing?
Oh, I think someone's playing with me.
No, you know, I won't talk to you about our work, honey. Where are you, at home?
Oh, yes, I am.
Are you busy?
No, I'm not.
Can you come down here immediately?
Oh, I'll be glad to.
Come down. I've got Jack Valenti here, and we want to talk to you about a little reassignment.
Okay, I love that at first she did not believe that it was the president calling. According to his biographers, Johnson specifically wanted to hire a black woman as his personal secretary to send a message to the racist segregationists in his Southern Democratic Party. Hiring her was a nod to diversity, inclusion, and economic opportunity. At the time Ms. Whittington was hired, this is what Johnson's cabinet looked like. Note the many varieties of white guy. That's also what most of the federal workforce looked like, particularly after a previous Democratic president, Woodrow Wilson, formally segregated the civil service in 1913. Wilson and his cabinet exiled black postal workers to the dead letter office, where they couldn't be seen by the public. They created segregated workspaces and even required federal job applicants to affix a photo of themselves to their applications to make it easier to discriminate. Fast forward to LBJ, who after Kennedy's assassination was under pressure from Dr. King and the civil rights movement, was pushing Congress to pass the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act in 1965, and a 1968 law to open up immigration to people from non-white countries. Jerry Whittington was a message. She was also the first person Johnson told that he was nominating Thurgood Marshall to be the first black Supreme Court justice. She and Justice Marshall happened to have died on the same day in 1993. But here she is, featured inside Jet magazine. But LBJ wasn't done.
You do not take a person who for years has been hobbled by chains and liberate him, bringing up to the starting line of a race, and then say, you are free to compete with all the others, and still justly believe that you have been completely fair. Thus, it is not enough just to open the gates of opportunity. All our citizens must have the ability to walk through those gates. And this is the next and the more profound stage of the battle for civil rights. We seek not just freedom, but opportunity. We seek not just legal equity, but human ability. Not just equality as a right and a theory, but equality as a fact and equality as a result.
That was Lyndon Johnson announcing during a June 1965 commencement address at Howard University his plan to take direct aim at economic inequality. In September of that year, he signed Executive Order 11246, which barred discriminatory hiring practices by federal agencies, federal contractors, or subcontractors. And even after it was narrowed to include just the contractors and subcontractors, the order literally changed the federal workforce, as subsequent presidents, Republican and Democrat, continued to enforce it, Bill Clinton in particular. Today, about 19% of federal workers are black in a country that's about 11% black, and about 60% of the federal workforce is white in a population that's about 59% white. Desegregating federal employment literally built the black middle class in states like Virginia, Maryland, and the District of Columbia. Black postal workers became a bedrock of the black middle class nationwide. There have been thousands and thousands of Jerry Whittingtons, which is probably why the civil service is a prime target of the right-wing Heritage Foundation, its Project 2025 playbook, and almost obsessively anti-black figures like Stephen Miller, who seems in many ways to be running the Trump government. If obnoxious performative proclamations like ending the commemoration of Black History Month and MLK Day in federal agencies and no longer teaching about the Tuskegee Airmen in the Naval Academy, which they retracted, are any indication. But if you look deeper into what this second Trump administration is doing, not just the provocative stuff that they're saying, it sure seems like something else is going on. I think to understand it, you first have to realize that federal contracting is the single biggest source of wealth in America. It's a nearly $1 trillion pot of tax money each year spent with private companies. Getting federal contracts is literally how companies and their founders and CEOs become super rich. Think SpaceX, owned by Elon Musk, and Blue Origin, owned by Jeff Bezos, or United Healthcare. All are among the biggest federal contractors in the U.S., though nothing is bigger and eats up more of our tax money than defense contractors. And with Tom Homan and Stephen Miller's twisted kick in the schoolhouse, restaurant, and church doors and drag undocumented people into military planes after demanding their papers, apartheid South Africa-style plan well underway in blue cities like Chicago, Illinois, and Newark, New Jersey, private prison stocks are soaring. They're posed to see a boom in federal contracts with the Trump regime. And Bezos and Elon and Mark Zuckerberg and Peter Thiel and the rest of the tech oligarch bros and Bitcoin bros are surely preparing to belly up to the Trump teat to suck out even more federal contracts, which explains why Elon and fellow tech bro Sam Altman are currently catfighting over the new AI regulations the Trump cacistocracy are cobbling together with executive orders that some eagle-eyed legal journalists have spotted seem to have been written with AI chatbots. The money that's about to flow to Trump's friends and cronies is likely going to make your head spin, all funded by you, the taxpayer. On top of you having to fund the gargantuan additional tax cut Republicans are prepping so the super rich can pay as close to zero in taxes as possible. Not to mention you footing the bill on those 25% tariffs on your Colombian coffee and anything that's imported from Mexico, Canada, and Panama. Oh, yeah, and just wait till Trump launches his Putin-style military assault on Greenland and Panama. Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, and the other defense behemoths are going to bathe in contractor cash, which is really super profitable. You know, war is like the most profitable thing. So while you're focused on the terror raids and the firings and the end Black History Month and the fake piety about merit, while Trump hires literal TV personalities to run his government, Trump and friends are preparing to pull off what amounts to a giant bank robbery. Guys, they're going to loot the federal government, hand out contracts to their friends who no longer have to worry about hiring black folks, women, disabled veterans, LGBTQ folks, anybody who might not go along with the scam. Because when you're preparing to start the steal, You know what you don't need hanging around? Witnesses. Like, say, longtime civil servants who make the government run, whether the president is someone they voted for or not. You don't want civil servant witnesses around when you start the steal, because they might tell. You know who won't tell? Cronies who got their jobs only because they pledged total personal loyalty to the